Hi guys, it's Ray. Today I need to do a couple of fire tumblers because I don't have any stocked anywhere. And we haven't done one since Ink Week, so I figured I'd bring you along to do these. I didn't do the last couple sets with you, so I have a 30-ounce curve and a 20-ounce curve, and I'm going to do both of them. They're just prepped and painted white. And I'm going to do a good amount of ink, or a good amount of epoxy on both of these. And I'm using KS Resin Liquid Stone for these, so I'll have some decent working time. I probably do a good 20 to 25 mLs on the 30-ounce. If you don't use enough epoxy, it won't move. It's best to have too much and let a little bit fall off than not start with enough. So I basically do at least fairly close to the number of ounces of the cup per ml. So 30-ounce cup gets close to 30, 20-ounce gets at least 20. I find that works fairly well to allow for good movement. So I'm just getting this on. And then I'm going to let it spin and smooth out a little bit. And this does have a good working time, so you have time to let it sit a minute. I don't really recommend you use the liquidy split for this unless you're just doing one and like ready to move immediately. Because once you start applying heat, it can set up in a snap and totally ruin your project. Trust me, I've done it a couple times, so I'm just gonna let these spin while I go get the final coats on a couple cups down the line, and I will be back. Okay, so I'm ready. I'm probably not gonna name off all the colors I'm gonna use. It's gonna be a bunch of reds, a bunch of oranges, a bunch of yellows. Ember, I will point out, I really have been liking this one for fire tumblers. And I do have some slate from Tim Holtz if I want to put a little bit of dark in. But I tend to keep these bright because they get so much black decal work. So I'm just going to give my inks a shake. I use whatever I have on hand because I tend to use so many of these colors that I never know what I'm going to have left. So I'll try and rattle them off as I go, but this is Woody's Goodies Mimosa. This is Tim Holtz Valencia. And you really don't have to worry about much with these colors because they all do kind of blend together. I didn't grab, and I don't know where it is. I knocked a bunch of inks off my shelf earlier. But I do sometimes like the Tim Holtz Dijon, if I can find it. I sometimes use that. It's like a yellowy brown instead of the other darker colors. So I'm going to come in with the Ember next. And I like to really saturate my cups when I do this with color. I like to basically have no white. I had a little bit of schmutz off that bottle right there. I'm going to come in with a couple drops of crimson, a true red. I tend to go a little bit lighter on that. Don't forget to go around the bottom if you're somebody that does full coverage tumblers. So I'm going to grab Tim Holtz Lemonade next for another yellow, if I can get this one opened. There we go. Another orangey yellow. None of the yellows I have right now are really vibrant until I get into neon, and I certainly don't want neon for a fire tumbler. Let's see. This is my go-to orange for fire tumblers, sunset orange, but this is about empty. But I really like sunset orange and sunrise yellow the best. So I tend to always end up out of those colors. That's gonna kill that bottle. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my Pixiss Carrot for more orange. This one's pretty similar, so it'll get the job done. Let's see. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of that Dijon, like I mentioned. This here goes on like a dark greeny, orangey color. Greenish, orangish, yellow. I kind of like it for some of the darker. And I'm going to come back in, last but not least, with some of this Marabou Lemon Yellow. Just to break up. I say last, but it might not be last. Because I do think I may add a tiny bit of that grayish color, the slate. And I only put like 6 or 8 drops on there. So I'm going to grab my heat gun. I use a WAGNER for an 0550. You don't have to have a fancy heat gun. Any heat gun will do, embossing gun. But I happen to really like this one, so it has a couple of fan settings. I'm going to turn the fan up high. I'm going to leave the heat medium. And I'm going to see if I can get this moving. Cord was hung up on a stool. And I am getting pretty close in concentrating the heat, but this is not its highest heat. So. This underneath here a minute, and I'm going to tilt it up a little bit. And I'm just going to push to the top once or twice. I'm going to do that with both of them. Turn my heat gun off, and I'm actually going to get my one turner off the other turner's cord, tilt them down a second, just trying to get it to swirl a little bit more if it feels like it. And I'm also going to start watching as it comes around for any void spots. I know the big one has a few. I don't think I saw any in the little one. But I also want to get that little black spot off of there. So I'm going to wait for that to come back around. This little chunk of ink I don't want on there. And I'm also looking for any really noticeable white spots, you know, across the top or whatever. So that looks pretty good. I'm just going to watch this one. Like, can you see that dry spot? I'm going to try and go over that a little. That's a pretty good void right there. There's enough resin on here that they should fill back in as they spin. So I'm going to call them good, let them spin until they're dry, and then come back when I am ready to decal. Actually, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to actually switch the direction of the turn and let them cure, spinning the opposite way of how I started. So I will be back. Okay, so I am getting these fire tumblers decaled. I'm doing the small one now. I have already decaled the big one. I didn't figure you needed to see me apply 8 decals. So I just have the 3 men on the bottom left to put on this one. And because these cups taper slightly, I do like to apply this in 3 sections when I do it on the curves. So I start with the middle guys and get them fairly straight. Whoops. I don't think that'll show up much under the resin, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then I grab my next section and try and line up that piece of grass somewhat straight. And get the man applied. And then the last section. Same thing. By cutting it, I can angle these back out and have it go somewhat straight at the bottom. Whereas if I apply it, they go up a bit in one section. So those are decaled. I'm going to get them spinning with a coat of resin, and that's it for this set of fire tumblers. I'm not going to show you applying the resin because you have seen it a million times. You've seen these several times. So just apply like normal. And that is it. I'm really pleased with the way these ones came out. I always like them, but for some reason this batch I really love the way the colors worked on. So I'm going to glitter all over them because I set them on the table, so I'm going to wipe the glitter off before I resin them. But this is how they're going to be complete. Thank you.